Welcome to Debriefing, the OACYC podcast, with your host Sean Guptill.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Debriefing with the OACYC, a safe space where we could debrief and talk all things CYC. And today with me, I have a special guest. She's an advocate. She's a leader of systems. She is in the fight for CYC. She's a professor. She's a mom. She's a wife. She's a mentor. She's a friend. She's our leader. Please welcome Coura, the OACYC president, to our show. Welcome.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate you saying all of that. That was nice. Thanks,
You
man.
deserve it. You do a lot for us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. How are you?
All right. Today you're joining me because there's stuff going on with the CYC field, and It seems to be a trend maybe that's starting, and it's CYC programs being canceled.
Well,
there's a lot of fear.
But let me just interject there and say that, we could call it a trend, or we could call it a tale of some seriously unfortunate events. Because the Ontario Association of Child and Youth Care has been advocating for the regulation of child and youth care for well over 4 decades. Yes. And we haven't been able to secure a political champion. We haven't been able to establish partnership with any major, any large bodies in government, that would help us move the needle. We haven't been able to secure any partnership, within the sector that would bring it forward. We've missed out on some opportunities, right?
Yes.
And also you have to add in that the sector, so the child welfare, youth justice, child and youth adolescent mental health, right? So hospital, and also education over the last 4 decades has gone through many changes having to do with the funding model, the way that, professional support services are provided, the way that the role of the group home worker or the shelter worker has been idealized or not, right? So instead of a trend, the way that I look at it, at least the position that I hold, is that it's been a series of seriously unfortunate events. And my hope is that I'm not one of those unfortunate events. Really, truly.
Yeah,
that's the position I hold.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think a lot of people, OG CYCs are feeling that same thing, and up and coming CYCs, students new to the field are they have questions, and I guess that could lead us into I put a bunch of questions together to ask you from that came over all our social media, and I hope we answer them the best we can, or you can answer them the best you can, and try and eliminate some of these fears or even stress, because it's going to add to burnout, and let's get to it.
So,
all right.
Listen, if I answer these questions and the answer is incomplete or something, what we'll do is we'll do a little research and we'll come back and we'll follow up with our community, right? So I'll answer them to the best of my ability, but if I don't have the full answer, then we'll do a little research, and we'll circle back to our community with maybe a follow-up episode or a publication or something.
Yeah, and that being said, and anyone that's following us on all our social media, right? The link to our YouTube channel is up top, where this video will also be uploaded. Ask questions in the comments, and we monitor them, and we will try and answer them on the next podcast or through social media, right? Okay, so what are your initial thoughts of the closure, post-secondary in child and youth care right now? That's one of the biggest questions happening right now? Like,
yeah, one of the
I know
biggest
you kind of
questions
answered it a bit, but what's your thoughts? Like, how far do you think this might go?
So the first correction is that there are 3 phases of closure. There's review, suspension, and then there's cancellation. Review is when the post-secondary institution decides to look at the program, look at whether or not it is fiscally viable, financially and fiscally viable, whether or not it's meeting the needs of the market. And, usually post-secondary institutions consult with their KPI index, they consult with StatsCan, they consult with something called the, public colleges are in alignment or having to be in alignment with something called the Blue Ribbon Report. So just the first correction is that not everything is closing. We have a program under review, a couple that have been suspended, and one that has been canceled. And so my response to this is, it's very scary, and we are all concerned as well. And we know that if colleges choose to close child and youth worker programs or child and youth care practitioner programs, the work isn't going to go away. It means that the quality of the work is going to take a dive. So there will still be a need for the advocacy of the association, right? But in terms of how far do I foresee this going, to tell you the truth, I really don't know at this point. And that is because I'm quite hopeful with some of the systemic level responses that we've had from our adjacent professional associations, from some of our larger organizational stakeholders like school boards, hospitals, mental health organizations. They need graduates from child and youth worker programs. So I'm concerned. I'm not scared. I don't know how far it'll go. But I think that now is the moment to take action. So if you have been sort of sitting on the sidelines, hemming and hawing about a membership, now's the time to get a membership. If you've been sitting on the sidelines and hemming and hawing about sending a letter through to your member of provincial parliament to say, hi, I'm a child and youth worker, I want to be regulated. My professional association has been trying to advocate for the regulation of this, group for, the last 4 decades. If you've been hemming and hawing about taking that action, it's time. It's time to take that action. It's time. It's time to take that action. Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah, it's time. It's time.
So just to follow up on that, right? Do you see that some of these suspensions, closures, like it might be impacting the availability of CYCs? You think? I think you did kind of mention that.
Yeah. Yes. So one of the things that we hear at the association often enough is a narrative like, I'm a formally trained child and youth care practitioner, and my problem is that I don't want to work at X agency because there are more non-formally trained child and youth workers. So there are more non-trained youth workers than there are trained youth workers. And therefore, as a formally trained youth worker, I can see how dangerous the environment is for me. So the answer is yes. The answer is, if we continue to see these programs close, if our post-secondary institutions don't necessarily crack the code on recruitment, retention, and registration, what will happen is that there will be a gap within the many different areas of mental health that we work. Remember, we work across the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Community, Children, and Social Services, the Ministry of Colleges and Universities, and we're overseen by the Ministry of the Attorney General ultimately, because that is ultimately, where our service lies. So yes, there will be a gap in the labor pool, and then we will have an emergence of untrained individuals who will step in to serve those roles. And the ultimate concern is to public safety. The ultimate concern is to public safety. That's the ultimate concern. Right? And then our kids are at risk.
Right? Like that's like kind of leading into our next question, right? The crucial role that CYCs play in schools, hospital, residential care, homeless shelters, and many other fields.
Child care settings, before and after school settings, respite settings, shelters.
So many places, right?
Yeah. So one thing about—
how will this affect essential services, right? This is going to put a strain, a burden, like so much on essential services that is already happening.
So I think what's really interesting about the practice of child and youth care. So the first thing that we have to acknowledge about child and youth care is that it existed far before we named it child and youth care in Canada, far before our college programs came along, right?
Yes.
So the thing that you and me have in common is that we love taking care of the young people in our spaces, right? Yes. We love being connected with our young people. We love bringing them up. If I could have been a venture capitalist, I really would have. Right? Same with you, right?
Right. Yes.
So to answer your question, I think that the answer is twofold. I think that the first answer is the layer of support that is provided by child and youth workers or child and youth care practitioners it's easy to unsee. It's easy to unsee that we teach the small t transition skills between spaces within the setting, between, arrival and into program, between, one aspect of the routine to another. It's easy to unsee that we take co-regulating the youth group quite seriously. It's easy to unsee that we are attuned to developmentally typical social behaviors around technology, around substances, around social activities inside and outside of the programs we work in, right? But it's easy to unsee that in the moment. And so the second part of my answer is that I think that the way that labor shortage would impact the services that we work in is that the role that we serve, the role that we carry out, it really, truly, it fits a need, and it fits an immediate need, which is why child and youth care is based in life space intervention, and we use daily life events in order to really create a therapeutic relationship and rapport, and use that relational aspect, use that relational approach as a catalyst for change. But it happens in the moment. So yes. I think that a labor shortage or a labor pool that's untrained that then comes in to replace that, which is happening right now, means that our young people just won't get the care that they're getting. They won't get the actual care that they're getting. They won't get the care. They won't get the therapeutically sound response to the resistance that they produce when it's time to transition from a space to space. It'll be seen as a non-compliance issue, right?
Wow.
So I think
I couldn't have said that any better. Wow, you embodied everything that we do in that sentence.
Thanks, man.
I'm watery-eyed. Because it's so true, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. It's so. But the other thing is that, Sean, truly and honestly think about, that, what we do. It's like the crucial part of the sandwich. It's like we're in the mayo. Come on, or mustard, whatever team you're on, right?
Right.
It's not a great sandwich unless it's mayo or mustard, right? It's like we can see the difference between behavioral noncompliance and a skill deficit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas somebody from an untrained labor pool won't necessarily see that. So I think that the impact will be on the quality of service that'll be carried out. I think that another impact is that our formally trained child and youth workers will then, start to pick and choose where they're willing to work, because some environments will be unsafe for them. And I also think that our formally trained child and youth workers will be left to pick up the pieces of those who are not formally trained, who decide to stay in those settings where there's a combination, and that contributes to burnout.
Yes, very much, very much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Leading into our next question, I think you could put a lot of insight into this, you being a faculty member yourself, and the wealth of experience that could be lost if I keep going back to closure, but you made it clear it's not a full closure. They're being reviewed, they're being suspended. I think there is one closure, right? So it's not fully that, right? But what impact do you think this will, the loss of educators to the profession, as well as the so much wealth of knowledge?
So I think that faculty across child and youth care programs are equally, if not more, concerned about the longevity of the opportunity that they have to shape new young minds who are coming into the practice. I think that, yes, there's an obvious loss of a collective intelligence. But my hope is that, individuals who are teaching across post-secondary institutions will find a way to create a channel to still teach, to still mentor. But again, I am looking towards what's possible rather than looking towards what could possibly happen, right? If I were to look at what could possibly happen, we're talking about a massive exodus of sector memory of child and youth care, memory of Thistletown, memory of the first, board, the first iteration of the Ontario Association of Child and Youth Care, memory of, I was sitting with Rick Kelly once, and he was telling me how it was somewhere in maybe the 70s or the 80s, and he showed up and he decided he was going to approach, the psychologist and the social worker in a certain way because he needed to get his point across so he could support the young person he was working with, right? Like that kind of rich memory that really holds the fabric of where this practice has come from in Ontario, that's really sort of put the context of Ontario child and youth care together. Yes, we are at risk. We are at risk. We are at risk. We are at risk. And so for this reason, we should be worried and we should be in action.
What do you think? You did mention like faculty members, these people with this knowledge who continue doing mentoring and maybe professional development courses, stuff like that. Is it gotta do side jobs? Is that, do you think that that's a thing that where we could go to?
So I don't think that anything will ever replace formal education.
Right.
And that's what we and that is the value of, and that is the foundation of, us advocating for the regulation of child and youth care and getting in touch with institutions that have put their programs on review or suspension and also cancellation, and really, asking them to share with us their line of logic, right? Like how did this happen, right? Nothing will ever replace formal education. Nothing will ever replace a diploma from, an Ontario university or an Ontario college. Nothing will ever replace that. So yeah, it could become a thing, but we don't want it to become a thing.
Right. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't have put it out there in the universe.
No. I think that it is appropriate for us right now to be worried out loud. I think that it is appropriate for, those who are watching, or those who are commenting, or those who are reaching out to the association and who are expressing that they are worried, or who are expressing that they're sad or disappointed, or who are saying that they're worried about X, Y, and Z. I think that's appropriate in this moment, because without awareness, we don't have momentum. So we need awareness to bubble up in this moment. And we also need individuals to know that if you are aware, you can take action, okay? You do not have to stay still, right? Because, stillness and, upsetness in the same bowl, it's not so healthy, right? So, but, it's good for us to put these ideas up, these alternative ideas, because we need to seriously contemplate, well, what if there were workshops instead of formal education? What would that look like? Would that be adequate enough for an untrained labor pool, right? Would that be adequate enough for some of our largest children's mental health organizations in the province? And the answer is no, absolutely not, right? The answer is no. Yeah.
So me and you recently were on the news. We were interviewed. And that's just one thing, one small step in what the OACYC right now is doing to advocate or to help preserve the CYC field. What else do you think we should be doing as an organization?
So as an organization, we're up to a lot. I think that right now, I'd like to talk to our members and our community members who sit adjacent to the association about what actions that they could take. So one of the things that you can do is you can write a letter to your member of provincial parliament, and you can CC president@oacyc.org, or you can CC office at oacyc.org, and you can tell your story. I'm a child and youth care practitioner. I work at this organization for this many years. My association has been advocating for the professionalization of our field, and it hasn't happened yet. And I'm really worried because this college, is, suspended, on review, or, canceled, right? I'm really worried about the future of my role, right? I also want to be part of a regulated profession. And also I would like to meet with you. Okay, so this is one of the things that our members or our community members who sit adjacent to us can take. Okay. One of the other things that our members or community members adjacent can do is you can help us by sending us job postings for child and youth workers, child and youth care practitioners, or roles that are within frontline children's mental health roles. So for about a year, the association has been looking at those job postings, and on occasion, we've had enough capacity to respond to the organization, to send an email through the back end to HR and say, we'd like for you to change this about your job posting. We'd like for you to state that the CYW diploma or the bachelor's in CYC is actually required. And we'd like for you to add, membership to the association, as something that's recommended. And what I want you to know is that we do this from a position of wanting to preserve, or rather wanting to create a higher level of public safety. We do this from a position where we review the job posting and we say, when you say requirements are a high school diploma and a driver's license, that's a massive safety issue. And we're not okay with it, given that we represent the voices who have graduated from these programs or who have graduated from programs adjacent, but who are active in carrying out child and youth care practice. So just to add into that, that one piece is really powerful. It's quite specific, but it's labor intensive. So if you're sitting to the sidelines and you're thinking, I don't know what I want to do, but I don't really want to put my name in, or I want to stay in the shadows, that's something that you can do. You can find a job posting, you can flip it over to office at OACYC.org. We house it in a folder, and then when we've got capacity, we go ahead and review it. And then we reach out to the HR and we say, this is our feedback about this job posting. We'd like for you to update it because it's more in alignment with best practices. Another thing that you can do is that, so each institution goes through a systematic method to evaluate the fiscal viability of their program, the market's needs of the program, the child and youth worker program, right, within that community. And usually one of the steps that they always take is they always talk to their PAC members. And PAC is spelled PAC, and it stands for Program Advisory Committee. So if you're a graduate of a child and youth worker program or a child and youth care program, your program has a program advisory committee. And if you work for an organization, say a large scale organization, and you're thinking to yourself, how is it that I can, encourage some involvement in, knowing what's happening, then what you can do is you can speak with your employer, you can speak with your organization, and you can encourage them to reach out to the institution that you graduated from and ask to sit on the program advisory committee so that the organization that you're working for actually has a voice and has a connection to the program that you have graduated to. Another piece actually is that you can reach out to the program yourself and say you're a graduate and you're interested in contributing your frontline insight and your frontline intelligence. And I think that it's really important for all youth workers to remember. I think it's important for us to remember that we have enough frontline experience to make, to develop fantastic policy, right? Like we know exactly what's happening when we take a group of 14 to 16-year-olds, downtown Toronto through the subway. We know the rate at which they move through the turnstiles. We're calculating risk, right? There's a lot of frontline insight that emerges in child and youth care practice. And so with that frontline insight, if you feel, hey, I actually think that I have something to contribute here that might help enhance the program that I came from. I have something to contribute here that I feel is new and emerging in the field. And if sitting on the program advisory committee is not something you want to do, you can always email the program coordinator and you can share this with them. Okay? Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
We're got to our final question, and I think let's see. Looking ahead,
Great.
What is your vision for the future child and youth care? Well, how would you like to see it in, say, 5 years, 10 years from now?
Oh, Sean, that's such a difficult question. That is such a difficult question. I think that in 5 years, I would like to see child and youth care professionalized. When we talk to politicians, when we talk to high-level stakeholders, the answer is resoundingly similar. They say, you're right. It makes complete sense. Child and youth care should be regulated. You're right. It makes complete sense. There are enough individuals who would be regulated, and yes, it sounds like it would be a fiscally viable organization. You're right. it would enhance public safety. You're right. It would contribute to a higher level, a higher quality of care that is being, offered in the child welfare and the children's mental health system. So in about 5 years, I would like to see us professionalized and regulated. And I think it's possible. I don't think I've ever said that publicly, but I really do think that it's possible. I've been president now. I'm in my 4th year. I know a lot now. And I really think it's possible. I really, really think it's possible. I think that we have been so close so many times that it's just a matter of mathematics. We just have to keep trying. I don't think it's impossible at all. And I think that one of the pieces that would be most supportive of this progress and of this vision is for members to also hold that vision, that it is possible. It is so possible. We have been so close so many times. We have been so close so many times. And when we talk about regulation, when we talk about professionalizing child and youth care, it's not that we need one person to, become the primary voice. We need about 30 or 40 pieces, high level, significant pieces to shift into place, right?
Very
and
true.
we have been so close so many times, but it hasn't yet happened. So just in terms of our 5-year goal or my 5-year vision, I would like to see us professionalized in 5 years. And I think it's possible. I really, really do.
So do I. I think you can.
Yeah.
I think, we need to build on our membership. Our membership needs to see the same vision and have hope, and you will get there. We will.
Yeah.
We will.
Yeah. So there's just a couple more things that I want to share.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to share is that I'd also like to see a lot more people like you who have their BCYC, their CYW diploma, either or both, and who are starting businesses and programs. Because the approach that is embedded within child and youth worker education is a unique one, and it runs adjacent to other regulated professions. Sometimes we get a little bit bunged up and we think that we're doing the job of the psychotherapist. We are not. We are the other 23 hours of the day. Okay. Right? Sometimes we get a little bit bunged up and we think maybe we're doing the role of the registered, early childhood educator. No. We are trained to see atypical childhood development from the ages of 3 years and up, right? What we do runs adjacent to other regulated professions. And so, one of the other things that I would love to see in the next 5 years is I would love to see more child and youth workers, more child and youth care practitioners starting businesses where they are serving young people with appropriate supervision, of course. But I would love to see that. And on that note, membership actually does matter. So what I want to say here, what I want to communicate here is that the association needs members. When we speak to bureaucrats and ministries, when we speak to high-level stakeholders, they always ask us, what is your annual budget and how many members do you have? Is it a decrease or increase from the year before? Okay, so yes, there is a narrative out there about, well, what does the association do for me? And I want you to consider that I'm not a member for me. I'm a member for us. I'm a member because I know my number counts. Your number counts. It counts. It really, really does. So purchase membership and renew your membership over and over and over again. There's a reason that the membership fee has not gone up for the last 10 years.
Right.
Like there's a reason. There's a reason why it's $107.35 HST all in. There's a reason. There's a reason. And that is because your number counts, and we want your number. We want you in. We want you in, and we need you to stay in. Because when we say 1,822 versus 2,087, that's a big difference in a conversation that we might be having with a minister, or we might be having with a high-level bureaucrat, or we might be having with a stakeholder who's thinking about writing a letter of support to regulate child and youth care, to say an arm of government. That's it. That's it, Sean. That's all I got.
I gotta apologize. You were talking so powerful, my power cord fell out. That was the movement there. I'm sorry if I distracted you.
You didn't have to stop me.
It's so true. Membership is so important. Go to our website. It's easy, just a few clicks, and get that membership. Renew it. Renewal reminders just went out, I believe. Yeah. So,
memberships are on an anniversary structure. So if you are from the good olden days, just like me, then your anniversary is September 1st. If you are not from the good old days, just like me, then your anniversary date is the day that you purchase. So if you purchased on May 17th, every single year, May 17th, you can have a card registered on the back end, and it'll just go through automatically.
That's awesome. All right. So awesome show, awesome talk. Something that again, our members could do for what's going on right now is advocate for CYC programs, engage in policy discussions, right? Educate your peers, educate the public, right? Mentor future CYCPs, right? And let's strengthen our professional networks, right? CYCs, get out there and start your own businesses, right? It's amazing what we can do in the CYC field as CYCPs, as CYWs, right? We're on the front lines. So let's support ourselves right now and get to that 5-year goal.
Yeah.
Coura, thank you. Awesome speaking with you, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you so much.
All right, everyone. Thank you. Remember, this is going to be posted on all our social media, YouTube. So drop your questions and comments, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. We'll try and answer all your questions. Take care.